Welcome to JASIRI right here on News Central. It's Friday. We've made it through a week of a revamped, updated, refreshed JASIRI for you, which also means that we're going to make sure you have something to look forward to on Monday, but we want to make sure the show goes out with a bang this week. I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome again to the most refreshing program on TV. Yes, it's like drinking fresh coffee. Welcome again to the show. And of course, you know, we have been trailing all the trending stories this week right here on JASIRI. So today is going to be another banging episode. My name is Omotunde Adebowale-David. You're welcome.
And I'm Blessings Mosugu, Gen Z Ambassador, reporting for duty. I mean, it's been a very beautiful week, and we made it through 1 week in the bag. I mean, I keep looking out, ladies, to see if maybe anybody's taking pictures of me and all that. I feel like a celebrity, but I'm not seeing anybody yet. And how long does it take, Lolo?
Wow. You should have told me that just become your photographer.
Because like, I had to even start wearing masks and all so that like, but it's like nobody.
I remember from my radio days that a lot of people, before radio became a lot more visual, they didn't know me, but my voice, I've been told my voice is very distinctive. So I remember we went to a movie, myself and my husband, and I was talking as I talk, and then somebody just turns and like, Tolulope. What's going on? I would know that voice anywhere.
But that was good. That was good. My own experience was quite terrible while I was on radio. You know, people just assume you look a certain way. There'd been this caller that has been calling all the way from Port Harcourt. You know, he listens online and he liked my voice and everything. And he said he was coming all the way to meet me. So you can imagine that day I had dressed up, like one of my big fans are coming. I was expecting flowers and everything. Gosh, when the guy saw me from afar, I could see his face. His countenance dropped. Like, is this what she looks like?
Oh, wow.
Then he got closer and said that he just started to ramble. Of course, I didn't go on any date. I didn't go on any...
Of course, it doesn't deserve it.
I've known you for almost 12 years. What are you talking about?
I don't know. He just assumed I looked a certain way because you could see his countenance change. Like, this wasn't what I was expecting. But it's all good.
I think the first time someone recognized me from TV, it was quite embarrassing, to be honest. I was in a bus and then I was fighting the conductor. Like, give me my change! Give me my change! And then the lady couldn't even wait for me to like be civil again. And then I was shouting, give me my change, so she ready. And then she was like, oh, you're not Blessings. I'm like, why?
No, that's
why
the
now?
day you're not saying, no, my name is Blessing. No S on that one.
S on it.
And I looked at her like, why now? Seriously.
And I think we all have it. Especially now with social media. I think one of the things I would ask people, not for us, but even celebrities, you hear them complain. Sometimes where fans are actually invading their privacy.
Oh.
You know, be nice enough to say, oh, can I take a picture? And if they say no, they're human. I remember that big issue happened with Justin Bieber. And people think because you buy movies, you listen to their shows, you buy their products, that you sort of own them. Ownership. Please, I'm not the celebrity. Honestly, celebrities deserve privacy and a certain respect.
Especially we that are in film. It is very terrible. I've seen people, because of some characters that I play, you see everybody just stop and expect me to respond to them the way they want me to respond to them.
Which is so bad. Which is so bad. I mean, and it's so bad because this generation, right, this age and time, people are not even looking to take pictures with you or, you know, to tell people that they saw you. They're
want
looking
to have
for
a conversation.
bad things about you. Look at what happened with Bobrisky the other day. They're looking for, like, the worst side of you because they know that that's what blogs will promote the most. And then these celebrities have down times. Sometimes they're just not themselves.
See, some days I don't want to greet anyone. Sometimes I'm having lunch with my children at an eatery and you would see people gather for pictures and I'm politely saying, sorry, this is family time.
And they'll see it as rude.
They say, what's wrong with you?
Exactly.
She's posing. We buy your movies. We watch it. I'm like, I know you do. But they feel like they own a part of you, but it doesn't work that way.
All right, so if you've joined us this week, you know we've had some fantastic conversations, and just quickly to give you a recap of that, and also to let you know what we're going to be touching base with today as well. On Monday, we started and we introduced ourselves, got you to know who we are, what we plan to do with JASIRI, which means bold, courageous, and brave. It's a word from the Swahili language, and it's just a word that really resonates with us in terms of the conversations and the women who are on this set as well. So from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, we're here for you. We spoke to one of the parents involved in an unfortunately messy situation involving the PTA of the Federal Government College, Ijanaki, and now the EFCC. And now students are being made to pay, not to pay, students are being used as pawns in this situation. This week also we spoke to Laboro Soshoma in terms of the rule of law and of course ensuring accountability for a number of people. So the conversations will range. We also had Dr. Kelechi Okoro with us on cervical cancer. So we're going to talk health, we'll talk politics, we'll talk socioeconomic issues, and we will also have hot topics.
Yes, that seems to be our biggest hit this week.
That's like my favorite segment.
Well, yesterday's hot topic really was hot, but it was quite emotional.
It was. I could see the fact that you had some tears in your eyes.
If you had children in secondary school, I have two. Yeah. My second son is in SS2 now, and my youngest son is in SS2, is in GSS2. Imagine the emotional trauma of knowing that something is going on, but what's my fault in it?
Yeah, I mean, I can't even relate to like having children in school, but the fact that somebody somewhere thinks they can decide the course of your life is just so sad.
It is. And then we also found out that apparently Blessings has a secret ambition to be a comedian.
Well, it's no longer secret, guys. I mean, I'm working on my branding, my T-shirt, and then I'm going to use them to do like a promo video for me.
We haven't even
she's going to use them.
Yes, because you're my first audience. You should be. It should be an honor. You're my first audience. You witnessed the career begin.
Wow.
I can't wait for this, guys. Oh my God.
I have some comments, but I'll hold them for them. All right, so today also is a very pivotal and important day because right now Nigerians are waiting for the Supreme Court to start sitting on the matter that's before it, and that's the matter of 7 governorship elections that have made their way to the Supreme Court. So after the elections, of course, contestations made it to the election petition tribunals, and from there, some parties said, nope, it's not enough. We will take the matter to the Supreme Court, and that's what's going to happen today. So we will be following very closely with this. We have one of our correspondents who's outside the Supreme Court that we'll be talking to shortly, and we also look forward to speaking to a legal practitioner who'll take us through some of the meatier issues involving these judgments that are coming up today. But you're watching JASIRI. We're going to take a quick time out. So when we come back, the conversations will continue. So today, Nigeria's Supreme Court will deliver judgment in 7 governorship appeals. Of course, we know that last December, the Apex Court reserved judgment in the appeal filed by the Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf, challenging the verdict of the Court of Appeal in the State Election Petitions Tribunal, which removed him from office. We have the 5-member panel led by Justice John Okoro reserved judgment after the parties adopted their brief of arguments. And that, of course, is not the only state that's in the spotlight. We also have Kano State as well being part of those that are going to be appealed today. I mentioned Kano already. We have another one, Plateau State is part of those that we're going to hear from today. We'll also be hearing, of course, from many more, and that's Zamfara. So we have Kano, we have Plateau, we have Zamfara as well. We also have Lagos as well being part of those. So before taking up too much time, because we do not know when the justices will enter the Supreme Court, and we'll have to go immediately live to that situation, let's talk to Barrister Wale Ogunade, who's on standby, joining us via Zoom to give us some information. Then we'll also be reaching out to our correspondent, Marvelous Obomanu, who is outside the Supreme Court's heavy security there this morning already, and we'll talk to him for a situation report. But let's get to Mr. Wale Ogunade right now. Mr. Ogunade, welcome to JASIRI. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I think one of my big questions is 7 judgments in one day. We saw the first judgment when it, of course, involved the presidential election, and the second one that the Supreme Court also gave, but now 7 in a day. It's really going to be a long day for us, isn't it?
Yes, a long day. Like the Bible tells us from God that there will be a judgment day. So today is a judgment day. And of course, the Lords are prepared for today. So they will sit and read their judgments one by one. And at the end of the day, the losing party will go home planning for the next election, and the winning party will go home celebrating. It's just like that.
I mean, Barrister Wale, this is beginning to look like a pattern, like we were discussing off air, you know, where the elections will take place, and then before you know, the tribunal. It's like everyone is now looking forward to tribunals, even before the elections hold, because everybody wants to petition. What do you think about the you know, legal aspect of the, you know, the petitioning, and then the court, the outcomes of the petitions? Do you think that the jurisdiction in Nigeria is has proven Nigerians right that they can actually make the right decision when it comes to these petitions?
Yeah, jurisprudence, I'm sure you want to say jurisprudence.
Jurisprudence, yes, I beg your pardon.
Have made people, have proved people right, that they have the right to explore their legal rights, and jurisprudence have brought that to the fore. We have seen elections being overturned. We have seen people ordinarily who do not have hope, but having hope in the judiciary installing them, restoring their stolen mandate. We have seen people whose rights have been abused, being compensated. So the judiciary has really done a lot, and ensuring that indeed there is justice in the land. There is just as the normally say, is a last hope for the common man, and all. So unfortunately, some people who have benefited from the judiciary, once now the decision of the judiciary did not go their way, they now come round to begin to lambaste the judiciary. It's a very unfortunate situation. So to me, the judiciary is doing a lot because people like us, it's the decisions that come from the apex court, the court of appeal, the high court, even magistrate courts that we use as precedent in our work to help us to make things and the judicial activities to see the light of the day, to become lively and to become something that you say, yes, there is law and order in a land. If there's no law and order, if there's breakdown of law and order, where do you go? Do you go and everybody now go to the street and begin to carry guns and sticks and, of course, kill each other, maim each other, all in the same that there is no judiciary or we don't have confidence in the judicial system? Whichever way, we must continue to promote good governance and respect for the judicial system. Those who go to court, they want to ventilate their grievance. They think they have something to present. For information, it's not in all the states of the federation that people went on appeal. And in some cases, everybody just decided to lick their wounds and say, well, we'll prepare for the next election, 2027. And that's how it should be. But of course, those who now who feel aggrieved that they want to ventilate their grievance, the courts are there. And when they get there, if they're able to prove their case like Pope, then okay. If they're able to prove their case like Peter Obi the other day, when he was cheated out of the governorship in Anambra State, so be it. If people like Aregbesola was able to cheat to get justice, people like Oshomole were able to get justice, so be it. So if people again were able to get justice, like Buhari, like Obasanjo, so be it. So you see, it's take comme si comme ça, as they normally say. It's not one-way traffic. That's why you see we lawyers will say the decision is either one way or the other. It can't be two ways. It is one way or the other. You can't get a decision that will be two ways. Two people or two sets of people will go to court, but one set will win and the other will lose. That's how it is.
All right, Barrister, thank you very much for joining us on JASIRI this morning and discussing all the judgments that are coming out of the Supreme Court today. I want to focus on Plateau State because Plateau State has been in the eye of the storm. We have seen a lot of crisis going on within the state that has been costing people their lives. And I know this one is between Governor Mufwang and Goshwe. Do you think the outcome of the judgment of the Supreme Court today what do you think it would do to the people of Plateau State? Would it be a time of celebration, or do you think that it will bring some more chaos in that state?
No, I'm an apostle of peace. I'll never look at a chaotic situation. Why would people want to go chaotic? I've already explained that judgment will always be one way or the other. So if it does not go your way, why would you now go to take arms? Because tomorrow may be your day. You don't need to go take arms because the decision of the court did not go your way. We live in a civil society and we must promote civility. We are not in the animal kingdom, neither are we in the old farm. What is it now? Animal farm. The old major. I'm sure you, by virtue of your profession and many people who are watching and listening, they read Animal Farm. We are not in that era where the will of the feast is the rule. It is the rule of law. We must adhere to the rule of law. We have submitted ourselves, as we say, to jurisdiction. Since we have submitted ourselves to the jurisdiction of the court, we must abide by the decision of the court. And anybody who now feel aggrieved, well, unfortunately, it's the Supreme Court, that is last court of the land.
He has to go to God.
Yeah.
you will be on your own.
Barrister Ogunade, I want to come back to something that I think Blessings touched on a little bit, and that has to do with the fact that we are going to the Supreme Court for 7 governorship election petitions, or basically appeals. So again, Kano, Plateau, Lagos, Bauchi, Ebonyi, Zamfara, and Abia states. Now, the Supreme Court is going to rule on the tenets of the law within the structure of the Constitution and on legal terms and situations. But you have a situation where people voted. The fact that so many of our elections, be it at the local, state, or federal level, are ending up being decided by the courts, is that not a cause for concern? We want people to be involved in the democratic process. Voting is one of those tenets in the process. But when people vote and it feels like their votes are overturned on the basis of law, maybe, yes, the majority voted this way, but the law has shown that there's an error in how it was done. Aren't we also setting ourselves up for error, or even showing that we have an issue with how we're voting people in?
Or even leading to apathy.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you. That's a brilliant question. And thank you for my sister. I wouldn't know who, but issue of apathy. I don't know, concern me. And I then sabi, na then own. Don't look. All those things are what has brought about all these issues of election petition, the problems and challenges. Because if each and every one of us are involved in elections and electoral activities, obviously there won't be room for manipulation. And if there is no room for manipulation, there can be people who will be aggrieved that, yes, I scored 200 votes here and they gave me 50 votes, or they recorded 50 votes for me. And if those things are not there, then definitely there will be peace. But many people, apathy, just my sister said in the studio now. And since there is apathy, you now give room for those, you now give room for the system to be manipulated. I'm involved in voter education and voter activities, and I know what I'm talking about. There are, in a polling unit or in a registration area, there are maybe 250 people who are registered. On election day, you only see 60 people or 40 people or even 30 people. Then you have given room for the opportunity to take, even if it's 100 votes, to use it anyhow by those who are around, and because you are not around, your lack of interest in the process are now giving room for all these things to happen. And of course, those who now feel aggrieved that, no, why will it be? These votes were not counted the right way. They will now have a right to go to court. If you remember, in a place like the Matawale issue is there, when of course those who are involved in the process we are not there. Those who are not supposed to be there, we are there, and so on. And I like the way the judge said that all those votes of the people was wasted. The votes will be wasted because the people did not take the proper step in securing, in protecting their vote. It is the duty of the voters, the citizens, to protect their vote, come out, vote, ensure that your vote counts. If you come out, you vote, and you ensure that your vote counts, there won't be any magomago. It is magomago that gives room for people to go to court. So you now give room to the court now to decide for you. Now, when the court decide for you, you now say people now pour on the street, medicine after death.
Barrister, we want you to hold on because we're hearing that the court is entering or is already starting session. So we quickly want to touch base with our correspondent, Marvelous Obomanu, who is outside the Supreme Court right now. Breaking news coming in. And breaking news just reaching us. It may not be such a long day after all, with 7 governorship governorship appeals making their way to the Supreme Court. But right now we have been told that the Supreme Court has affirmed the victory of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. So that is the first judgment we've had from the Supreme Court today. The Supreme Court affirming the election of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State in the governorship tussle. Let's quickly go to Marvelous Obomanu so we can go straight to that live feed and you can hear from the justices themselves. Marvelous, are you with us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning, Marvelous. All right, so we've been told, and you've been sharing with us, of course, in the back end, security is very tight right now outside the Supreme Court. One of the judgments coming in already. What was the reaction of the people once the judgment made its way out to the streets around you?
All right, very quickly, of course, it is a busy day here in the nation's capital, Abuja, as the Apex Court, which is the Supreme Court, will be putting to bed some of the governorship election disputes. We have 7 of them. We have Lagos, we have Ebonyi, we have Plateau, we have Zamfara, and a number of them. Then if you could look behind me, of course, you see party supporters, patiently waiting for the outcome of the Supreme Court this morning. And of course, just like I told you, we have a heavy presence of security personnel here this morning. All of them moving around the premises. Where we are is where they call Federal Secretariat, just, a walkable distance to the Supreme Court. And supporters, journalists, and some lawyers who do not have access tag are not allowed to go into the Supreme Court. So they're all here, waiting to hear the outcome of the judgment of the Supreme Court. Some of them here are coming from all the way from Kano State, some from Zamfara, and other states that their judgment is at the table of the Supreme Court. So it's been a tense moment here this morning. And of course, there are states like Zamfara, Plateau, and Kano is already tense. So whatever will be the outcome of the judgment of the Supreme Court today may, somehow disrupt the relative peace that is being enjoyed in those states. It may mar or make the peace in those states. So whatever be the outcome of the Supreme Court today, we are going to know how it will affect, the peace and security of those states. But I can confirm to you that we'll have heavy presence of security personnel here to forestall any form of breakdown of law and order here in Abuja. And of course, you are aware that some of the cases before the Supreme Court here this morning is the fact that some were saying that there were inconsistencies in the number of votes they got at some local governments. Some are saying that the governors who won the election were not legitimate members of the party as at when the election was conducted. Some are already saying that there were discrepancies in the figure of the votes at the end of from what they got at the polling unit and what was transmitted. So it's a lot of issues that they are brought from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. But whatever it is, by the end of today, Nigeria's apex court will be putting to bed some of those issues in their judgment.
Marvelous.
So, I was listening to...
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I was listening to one of the guests talking about voter apathy, and what you understand is that whatever that happens may or mar the voter party. Just like you're aware, during the off-cycle election in Kogi State that I told you that some of the local governments we visited, we had, visible number of voter apathy because the polling units, the polling booths there were totally empty. Just like Dino Melaye's local government where I visited. And some of the people I spoke with said, how would they come out, pass through the stress of, going to register, getting their PVC. Some of them, they alleged that even INEC officials extorted them to, collected some money before their PVC were given to them. Then they passed through a hurdle of security check, going to the polling unit to cast their vote. At the end of the day, whom they voted for, who was declared winner at the end of the day, a court order will remove them. So some of them say there is a lackadaisical attitude to even want to go out and vote again. Yeah. And of course, you are aware that in coming months, we'll be having an election in Edo State. And these kind of things are some of the things that may affect the turnout of voters in coming elections.
Okay, Marvelous, this apathy that you just spoke of, yes. I think is going to lead me to the next thing. Now, we do understand that most of the time, voter apathy is birthed out of distrust for the electoral system, but it has spilled over into distrust for the judicial system as well, because a lot of people have said that the judiciary in Nigeria is compromised. Now, the judiciary has made it clear a lot of times that the decisions are based strictly off of fact, but we cannot deny that in terms of accountability, a lot of times, a lot of information is stripped off the people. People don't exactly know what is happening, the proceedings leading up to the judgments. They just hear, the decisions that are made, either ruling in favor of some governors, ruling against some governors. So would you say that in terms of transparency, the judiciary is doing their best, at least to let people know what the decisions are based on? Is it that's in terms of deciding who wins now? Is it that they had more votes? Because from the record, sometimes you see that the people who have more votes turn out maybe not winning, or at the end of the day is based on one percentage somewhere, or it's just not very clear to the people. So would you say that in terms of transparency, we're doing enough, the judiciary is doing enough to convince the people that the decisions are right?
Well, let me go straight and answer your question. Talking about transparency, you know that transparency of the judiciary has been in the front burner for a long time now. So many people are calling for the independence of the judiciary, that if the judiciary is independent, gets their fund by themselves, manages their affairs, it will help them to build, you know, some form of credibility. But some people are saying that he that pays the piper dictates the tune. As far as that the executive is still the one funding the judiciary, giving them and approving their budget and all the rest of them. I mean, the marriage between those institutions always, you know, conflict, depend on who is calling the shot. You understand? And of course, during the presidential election petitions court, the court said that the judgment will be, you know, telecasted live. And some people said, wow, that at least this day we'll see how the judgment will go. That bold movement actually won them a lot of confidence from, you know, the populace. And then some people are expecting that this kind of judgment again will be telecasted so that people will also see what is happening. But the thing is, whether the Supreme Court is doing enough work to rid themselves from the public outcry and public criticism is one thing at hand. The second thing is, how far have they gone, you know, to wash themselves, to get themselves clean from these accusations?
Okay, of course, marvelous.
And one thing you should also know that, yeah, go ahead.
Please, I want you to hold on because we have Barrister Ogunade who's still with us, but Lolo has the details of the judgment in Lagos State, and we want to get his thoughts on that judgment. So what are we hearing specifically?
Yes. All right, if you're just joining us on JASIRI, we're bringing you updates from what is happening in Abuja at the Supreme Court. It has come to us, we just broke the news that the Supreme Court has just affirmed the election of the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Sanwo-Olu's victory was upheld by the tribunal and the appeal court in the state. And you know that the kernel of the case is the Labour Party candidate in the election. That is Gbadebo Rhodes Vivers, is the one that is Sanwo-Olu's running mate at the qualification at that time. So that's what's coming off Abuja at the moment.
So, Barrister Ogunade, I want to bring you back in. We've heard from the courts now. Babajide Sanwo-Olu is the definitive last.
Yes.
At the end of the day, he is the governor of Lagos State. And we know this, of course, revolved around the issues that came, also involving Obafemi Hamzat, that's the deputy governor of the state, and how he became deputy governor. So your thoughts on this judgment as it's been made by the Supreme Court?
It is a small judgment. The defendant, the petitioners, that's Rhodes Vivers and Jandor, ought to have put their acts together, look at their petition very well, and put in a very solid case. But they didn't do that. And of course, the tribunal in its ruling or in its judgment said that they presented a wishy-washy case. And there is nothing that the appeal court can stand on. Once your case is bad, irreparably bad, and of course in law we say it's bad ab initio from the onset. So I wrote that there was nothing anybody can do. They can't do any good. There's no way they can repair it. Even the Bible tells me in the book of Psalm 11:3 that if the foundation is faulty, there's nothing the righteous can do. There's nothing any judge can do to repair a bad case. So those ones have a bad case from the beginning. So going to the Supreme Court was to them, well, just as I said, to enrich legal jurisprudence, and that's just what they have done. It will just help some people to know what a way not to start or continue in a bad case. That's the experience, and that's the lesson from that judgment. Smooth, simple. And you'll find out that it didn't take the judges of the Supreme Court time. One will expect that in it will take hours for the judgment to be delivered. But I'm sure it will just be that they read, it wasn't any stress, and they just read their judgment, having not found, as we say in law again, no merit in their argument.
That Jandor, that it was a disadvantage from the very beginning because he was up against the incumbent in the elections. And when you talked about the evidence that his case was presented wishy-washy, where would he have garnered enough evidence to be able to stand against the ruling party in Lagos? And you know that Lagos had a lot of peculiarities. Even during the elections, we saw pockets of violence in different locations where the elections were held. Would you not say that Jandor was just disadvantaged because it is happening in Lagos State? And Lagos State is basically an APC state.
No, elections are not. We saw what happened. The issue of incumbency has now been put to rest. No incumbents have been removed from office. Nobody has a state. Incumbent, okay, look at what is up River State. Let me see, Ebonyi State. These are strong PDP states that now went to APC state. So the issue of incumbency does not arise in elections anymore. And that's why, again, I may fault the argument of our correspondent who was saying that people refuse to come out and vote. The courts and all the situations surrounding court verdicts make people to stay away. Violence make people to stay away. And what of those of us who are in the trenches? What of those of us who want democracy to stand? What about those who are ensuring, who are there in the battlefield? He is there in the battlefield. I mean, he's anticipating that, well, there are security men, and we know about the accidental discharge. We see vigilance is the benefit for democracy, the eternal vigilance of the people. That's what will bring about strong democracy and strong institutions. People must struggle. You can't just stay away and you say, yes, you want things to happen. You must be involved in the things happening. Those who promoted and battered democracy, they struggled and struggled to ensuring that democracy saw the light of the day. Let me give you an example. Those of us who are June 12ers, we knew that one day the light will come, but nobody believed a military man in Buhari will recognize June 12. Nobody believed that a Buhari will recognize June 12. But eventually, June 12 has come to stay. So you see, the second leg is that dare to struggle, dare to win.
Right. All right. So, Barrister, I want to quickly ask you, because Blessings had asked Marvelous, who's still outside the Supreme Court, about the judiciary. And, of course, we had mentioned this a little bit in terms of the judiciary then now being the final sort of arbiter in these decisions when it's supposed to be majority rules, the majority votes, but we're seeing too many, just too many intricacies and complexities that mean that the decisions are then made at the level of the court. The judiciary, many Nigerians, as she said, believe is compromised. And in terms of even some of these results, they will say that it's not my governor. This is not the governor I voted for, even if the law recognizes this person as the governor or of the leader of my state. When we look at the judiciary in all of this, what can it do to clean its reputation? We're talking about the Supreme Court. As you said earlier, there's no one else to go to. After this is God, and God is not going to come down and overturn the judgment. What can the judiciary do to clean the reputational image issues that it has, all the way sometimes up to the Supreme Court?
Yes, it's a simple thing. There's nothing one can do. Just as I said earlier on, you can't, because they say the man is not your governor. You are contributed. The people who are saying the man is not their governor contributed by the Supreme Court or the courts now affirming him or declaring him a winner. I laid the foundation. Okay, let's assume now someone is interested in politics or is interested in whoever governs him, and he refused to mobilize, ensuring that people come out and vote. They refuse to guard their vote. And you know, when all these things were moving on, we brought the principle that yes, you must not only vote but ensure that your votes count. And we brought the cliché RSVP: register, vote, and ensure that your vote counts. Right. So when you don't allow your vote to count, then you're creating room for those issues that has happened. And if those things happen, okay, now you say the man is not your governor. Let him make an order that a curfew, that people should not go out. And you go out and you say that there is an illegal order. You will see what will happen to you. It's just that constraint authority, as Ajimabi will say.
All right. Barrister, I'm talking about these petitions. I mean, we're looking at 7 different, judgments for today. Are there systems in place to limit the petitions in forthcoming elections? Because judging by our precedents and track record, if we're reading this chart the way Nigeria has been, we're still going to have more petitions in the future. Is there something that can be done?
Any lessons?
Exactly, in the electoral processes to make it, to have more clarity, so that if they say this person won, we know that this person won, and then we're not begging and asking and going to different courts to, try and change their decisions.
You see, democracy has left, elections have left the era of it is somebody that said you must vote for somebody. It is, you see, I don't know how you people have been, but when this thing started and when we were involved, it was just a piece of paper that was a voting, that was used as a voting paper. Now we have transformed that into a ballot paper that is really synchronized, has a number and colored and assigned to a polling word. Before a piece of paper can be. That's why you see people snatching ballot boxes and so on. We have moved to the level wherein voter apathy is now the main problem now. And that's why we are going to ensuring that people sit and get themselves involved in the electoral process. Once you get the whole people, okay, look at it now. I still tell people that we still have a minority government in Nigeria. The last election now, we are touting that we have more than 120 million Nigerians. Of the 120 million Nigerians, less than 30 million people, in fact, 25 million people. In fact, it is 15 million people that voted, less than 15 million people voted Tinubu, maybe 8 million voted for Atiku, maybe 5 million or so voted for Obi. The totality of all these votes are still less than 50% of the total number of Nigerians. So where are the others? Why won't there be crisis? That is one. The second leg is that we run a constitutional government, and we have what is called fair hearing and the principle of access to justice. Nobody can be denied justice just because they think that they should not talk. Everybody has a voice, and the only way, the place where you can ventilate your anger and voice is through the law court. They can't shut people out. But when people begin to go to court to ventilate their anger and they are failing, then they will know that there is no need going to taking petitions to the court. That is one. The second leg is that how do we stamp petitions? And the only way we can stamp petitions are electoral petitions and so on is to ensure that the process is good. The process is good when all of us are involved. If all of us are not involved, I tell you, as someone who is involved, there's no
Barrister.
There won't be crisis.
Barrister, now that we know that the election petitions, we've gone through all the rounds, the Supreme Court is now giving judgment on all the final ones that are before it. But moving forward, should we not be introspecting and thinking of INEC as a body? Because they are the ones that are conducting elections. Is there nothing that we can make them do to do better at conducting these elections? Because we have some elections coming up, like the Edo State election that is coming. Is there anything that we can do better from the INEC position so that we can get it right from the onset? So that, because we are wasting manpower, we are spending money on the judiciary, all the courts, all the lawyers, everything that we need to do to bring election petitions and everything, it's costing us a lot, not just on the petitioner, even the government is going to be paying. But is this not like part of the things that are siphoning our funds? If we get it right from the INEC standpoint, would this not reduce cost of governance for us, even on elections and everything surrounding it?
Three issues to answer your question. The first one, INEC are constituted by Nigerians. They don't come from heaven. We are lucky we have a Jaga who stood all forms of intimidation and manipulation. But Jaga or even Mahmoud Ibrahim is not alone. He can't conduct an election. He is in Abuja as the chief electoral umpire. What of those who are the small boys in the various units? I've interacted, I'm involved in this. So how can you go about that? The law and the rules promote and encourages them to do their job. But again, I'm still talking and saying it, and nobody wants to hear my own voice. And that's my problem. The issue is that if all of us as stakeholders become the watchdog of INEC, they want to start the election, you say, yeah, I'll conduct a poll now. You say, yeah, open the box, let's see. What is there? Nothing. Which is it? Paper reader? What of the ballot papers? Are they clean? Did they bring them? Are they complete? How many did you bring? You ask questions. Before they start to interrogate them. During the conduct, When somebody comes, jumps in, wants to cast his ballot, maybe you now suspect that maybe the person is a man and is looking a little bulky. He wants to enter the cubicle. You say, no, Oga, you look at this man, let him come out, let us shake his body. You see, there are several things that you can do, and these are things that will make the system to be strong. We, all of us, must be INEC and watch INEC in our individual places. We have left INEC alone. They do what they want, and you are now crying. Who will help you? The courts, many times, issues have been presented before the court, and they say it's their job. Nobody to present fact of this manipulation. Even if they are presented, the right person did not present it. I was in Obosi during the Anambra midterm election sometime 8 years ago or so. I saw a lot of things that happened. For information, the electoral officer there was arrested. I wouldn't know, maybe they succeeded in prosecuting him successfully. So what I would say, this thing is the combination of all of us. And when we start to say taxpayers' money are wasted, until we come to realize that, yes, that money that is wasted belongs to me. If I ensure that INEC does its job very well, everyone, when INEC does its job very well, then money wasted will not be wasted. Those who are found culpable will be held
responsible
by the law. Then everybody will do well, and then will have the right thing to do.
All right, Barrister, please hold on. We want to go back to our correspondence because our time is fast spent. Marvelous, we've had this conversation looking at the judgments coming for the Lagos State governorship election, but we're also, of course, following up. We have 6 more states to go. How are things outside the Supreme Court right now?
The supporters are here, just observing what is happening, but we've not really had any rank or any issue so far here outside the, court premises. Everything is just cool. For now, we just have people moving around, going about their businesses. Some of the party supporters are in clusters, talking to themselves and anticipating that, the odd will go to their favor. So it's just been quiet here outside the court premises.
Marvelous. Would you say that the security operatives on site are enough? Because, these things can escalate so quickly. What is the general, you said everybody is calm at the moment, but do you think that if peradventure there is anything inappropriate happening, the security operatives on site are enough? Can you visually say that it's enough?
Well, just like I said, for now, everybody is condoling themselves in a peaceful manner. But of course, human beings, we are unpredictable. So we can't preempt what may happen from this moment. But just like I told you, we'll have a heavy security presence. In fact, a joint task force at that. We'll have the army, we'll have the police, we'll have, of course, DSS and a few number of them. If I shift a little, if you can observe what is going on there, you'll see that there is just a barricade, a police barricade, a police healers barricade, preventing people from going towards that Supreme Court side and then diverting them by the left where you can see party supporters there. So just a while ago, we saw some other, security joint task force moving around, these premises, and of course going towards that place. Supporters are there, showing that force to tell them that yes, we're on ground and we'll make sure that whatever that happens, we'll make sure that this place does not unravel. So we have a heavy security presence for now, but we don't know what will happen after now, and we can't guarantee if those party supporters that are there anxiously waiting can be patient till after the judgment.
All right, as you mentioned earlier, we are, of course, keeping eyes on Plateau and Zamfara as well, because particularly of the situation in Plateau State that has happened. But Marvelous, we'll have to let you go now because we need to wrap up the show. But I know you're outside the Supreme Court, and for the rest of the day, you're going to be keeping us updated with the latest coming from the vicinity of Nigeria's Supreme Court. Marvelous, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And he wasn't our only guest, but that was our correspondent, Marvelous Obomanu, who's outside the Supreme Court. We also had Barrister Wale Ogunade also breaking down a few of the issues around some of the tribunal appeals that have made their way now to the Supreme Court. And as we broke earlier, Lagos State has been decided in favor of the All Progressives Congress candidate, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So he retains, of course, his position and his well, he retains his victory at the end of the day. So there are 6 more states for the Supreme Court to get through today, and they include Kano, Plateau, Bauchi, Ebonyi, Zamfara, and Abia states. Ladies?
Honestly, I think the Lagos State judgment is kind of expected.
Yeah, anybody could have predicted that.
Anybody could have predicted that. But I still think that INEC needs a lot of work because we did see pockets of violence. I particularly...
I still remember your video.
No, in my polling unit, you know, I didn't want to disagree with the barrister, but I think that Nigerians have stepped up in their involvement in elections. You know, before that attitude of indifference, I think in this last election, I can say, talking from my polling unit, that a lot of people have become interested.
So they did step up, but then I think that their efforts were kind of truncated.
Of course, in my own polling unit, in Abuja, polling unit, honestly, it was disrupted by touts and hoodlums. They did what they would do. They scattered the ballot boxes. They chased everybody with weapons, with charms, you know, and really caused a chaos. So, and I saw that Nigerians were pushing back as much as you can. We're not carrying guns. Even the security operatives. Honestly, it's kind of weird for me because they just stood aloof.
Yeah.
They didn't engage.
Yeah.
And so how would you say you want to protect the ballot? Exactly. When they brought out machetes and everything, what could I have done to protect the ballot?
Exactly. And then for INEC, that is supposed to be an independent body, they're not so independent. So if they cannot be independent, then maybe they need some monitoring. And if they're willing to be independent, then they need to sit up. And like you said, they need preparation.
Yes.
There are a lot more conversations on elections, the judiciary, the right to vote, protection of votes that will be happening, of course. And many of that will be coming because of the decisions that Nigeria's Supreme Court will be making today. But we also want to tell you, we did have plans and we had guests who were meant to join us. But the Supreme Court trumps everything. And so we can tell you that Pastor Itwa Igodalo, the senior pastor of the Trinity House, who is going to talk about the church and accountability, will be with us on Monday. So if you tuned in because of that conversation, join us at Monday, 10 a.m. West African time, because it's still going to be a hot one. And we can promise you that if you enjoyed this week, you cannot believe what we have in store for you next week. Thank you so much for joining us on JASIRI. Thank you so much for being with us all week long. We've seen your tweets, we've seen your reposts. You're making blessings an Instagram comedian, and now we're not going to be able to deal with it. But we want to say a very big thank you to everybody who's been with us, and we hope to see you 10 a.m. West African time. The hashtag is JASIRI, and of course, the station is New Central. At New Central TV is where you can find us. So from me to you, on behalf of the ladies, and Catherine will be with us again. Of course, peace. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you at 10 a.m. West African time on Monday.